and good Wednesday evening. Welcome to the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show as presented to you by the Hillsboro Economic Development Corporation. I'm Chase Miller. This week on the program, a little hoops and a little wrestling as we'll start off the conversation with Rich Lacina from the Lisbon Broncos boys wrestling program. We'll also hear from Nate McCraven of Ada-Borup-West boys basketball as well for the Cougars. From there, we'll talk with Matt Veit of Fargo Davies girls basketball as Matt takes over for Tona Safransky as they picked up a season opening win over the Moorhead Spuds last night. From there, we'll hear from Jason Brend and see how the Tommy's girls basketball team is getting in from volleyball into basketball season here as their girls made a state trip appearance in volleyball. See how they're doing on the hoop side with Jason. Also talk a little Climax-Fisher boys basketball, Hillsboro Central Valley girls basketball, and we'll get to our senior spotlight as well with Austin McCraven, who just surpassed over 1,000 career points here for Ada-Borup-West. Again, this is the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show. Let's get to our conversation, a little wrestling here with Lisbon Broncos boys wrestling. Join us now from the Lisbon Broncos, the head coach that is Rich Lacina here. As it's crazy to think a couple weeks from now is Christmas, which means January and February wrestling aren't too far around the corner. But first things first, Rich, let's just talk about your program and also the first couple of duels you've had so far with wins against the Burros, the Spoilers, and the Oaks Tornadoes, and some quality Class B programs as well. What have you just kind of seen from your team so far in the first few weeks of the season here, Rich?
They're working hard. They're a pretty driven group. I can see it in the school, in the classrooms, in the wrestling room. They want to chase it. I think they took that kind of the end in the streak last year. They're a little bit tough, and they kind of want to try to get back to it. So they're working hard, and we're kind of excited to see where we end up in February here.
Yeah, it's always a growing process no matter the sport. So I guess my follow-up question is, what's the growth of this team? Where do you want this team to continually to improve upon, match in, practice, opportunities before you finally get to that postseason in February?
Right now, after that Dan Unruh tournament we had in Wapton, the boys, we talked about it on Monday. It'll be truthful on Monday. It's our cardio needs some work. We saw we were, those third period, we had a couple of overtime matches. Our boys were sucking air pretty good. I think it's for everybody this time of year. They're working hard. It's not that they're not working hard in the practice room, but this is, some of them are on their third or fourth matches all of a sudden they're finding out, boy, six minutes is a long time out there. So
you hear it from players kind of sometimes going from fall football to basketball that you need to be in basketball shape, but it's just as true in wrestling, right? Maybe a little different form, but if you get to some of these days where you might be competing at the individual tournament or dual tournament where you're going out there more than just one time as you would in a team duel, Rich, how quickly does it normally take for wrestlers, so to speak, to get into wrestling shape coming off of a fall season, no matter what sport they're playing, getting into wrestling mode here, Rich?
It does. It takes, it is not even just the practice room. It takes those real live matches. And I'd say you get around that 15 matches, you start kind of seeing it. It's just, you said it for basketball shape or wrestling shape. Wrestling, you're using different muscles that you didn't use in football. And it's a different type, it's not a 25, 30-second play and then hustle. It's a 6-minute grind. It's just a real different kind of conditioning that takes. So.
Before we get into some of the participants here this year for your club here, Rich, let's just talk about the upcoming schedule. Tomorrow on YourLiveEvent.com, Brent Dick will have the play-by-play, a nice triangular with Breckenridge and Wahpeton coming in with Valley City tomorrow in Lisbon, and then you get ready for the Carrington individual tournament on the boys' side on Saturday. We'll have that for you on Your Live Event as well. But what do you just kind of want to see from your team here this week? I know you got a couple more duels with Carrington on the 19th then as well in Lisbon before you kind of get ready for the holiday break, but what do you want to see most from your team here before you kind of get to that holiday break here, Rich?
Just those steady improvements. We talked, there's a few situations we were in where we didn't quite finish a shot or we didn't quite get, and we talk about that it's usually inches, not miles, that'll make the difference. If you can get that set up just a little tighter, just kind of those few refining things there. If we could see that this week from where we were last week. And then just the constant work in the room. They're still putting that time in, and I think we'll see that evolve as we go through. But for this short little gap, just kind of fixing those small things.
Every year it brings a different team together, no matter if you got one senior or 10 seniors, depending on the upperclassmen here. And this year, it just, lo and behold, you just have one senior on the roster here, this Rich, with Aiden Hinkle. Just kind of what does Aiden provide as being that senior? And then I know you got a bevy of juniors that we could talk about all day here, but what does Aiden kind of bring as that senior?
He's just a great kid. He's got a real good attitude. The kid, the heavyweight, the biggest guy in the room, and the one that all the little kids look up to. So it's kind of a nice thing. We talked about that Oaks duel a little bit before. It came down to heavyweight, and how nice is it to have that anchor in there, that senior that's returning state placer and seems pretty driven. He wants to move up that podium a little bit this year. So seeing it in the room, seeing it the way he kind of just has taken that responsibility of leading. Last year we had 6 great seniors. I mean, I think we ended up, I think we counted it was like 630 some career wins that walked out the door last year. So that's a little bit different this year, but kind of fun to see it too. It's fun to see Aiden develop and like you said, some of our juniors that are jumping into that leadership role.
Well, you mentioned career wins. Anytime you reach a milestone, we got to talk about him there. Ryan Eng already over 100 career wins, gets that early on the season. Just what have you kind of seen from him early on in the year here, Rich?
Uh, I I wonder if it's every year, from a sophomore to a junior year, but our juniors, if it's the responsibility of leadership or what it is, but they've just matured a lot in this last year. The way you'll see them in the practice room and they'll be talking a kid through a spot where they kind of see a thing they can improve on. They've really taken that role. And you mentioned Ryan, 100 wins. He's just a steady hand, just calm. Keeps his wits about him throughout a match. And he got that win in the Oaks duel in his first match of the year. He got hurt last year at the state tournament. Didn't get to wrestle the duels with us on Saturday. We kind of thought he might get there last year. Got there the very first match that he wrestled this year, was able to get out to the 100 marks. So.
Rich, you've been doing this long enough to know, obviously, whether it's any particular sport, but in wrestling, how valuable having a varsity, junior varsity, that youth program that comes up. Obviously, there's coaches that can do so much, but how valuable is it when, you have a seventh, eighth grader, so to speak, talking to a junior or talking to a sophomore who's been in the grind, so to speak, for a couple of years in the program? How valuable is that, and how much does that lead to success here on the mat?
They break down as family every day, and we talk about what it means to be a brother. I think those older guys take them under their wing as younger brothers. It means it's a lot for recruiting. Don't tell the basketball coaches ever, but that little seventh grader, he thinks that junior and senior, they hung the moon. They're their heroes. They've been watching these guys for years. So if that guy, a few years ago, I remember if you remember Jordan Urbach that wrestled for us, my son Carter was in seventh grade when Jordan was a senior, and Jordan sent added Carter on Snapchat, and Carter came downstairs. Jordan Urbach added me on, pretty excited to be added by that senior, that upperclassman. So it can be a big, it's a great helper as long as those kids are great kids. And we've been really lucky with some great upperclassmen over the years that have kind of helped keep those numbers going. So
yeah, to your sweatshirt there, that'd be like Justin Herbert or Easton Stick saying hi to one of your kids then, right, Rich? Is that like the example?
Saying hi to me, I'd still get excited for that
one. Rich, one or two things before we let you go. Just this year's team, every year, again, every team takes its own involvement. It kind of molds into its own particular group. But what's one thing that you've seen so far from this group, albeit pretty early still in the season? I know you still got the Store Hog coming up and a lot of really good, East-West classics and tournaments of that nature. But what's one thing that you've really liked about this team early on so far on the season?
The drive to get better. I mean, you can see them beating on each other in the practice room. You can see them going through. You can see they came off of the weekend. They weren't happy. We wrestled well in Wapton there, but they weren't happy. They wanted to get better. They started, pushing that. Those upperclassmen, our junior and seniors, they take care of the cardio for us. That they always tell me, no, that's your job. Make sure our kids are in shape here. They pushed it a little bit here. So just it's really impressive to see. They sometimes, people come back on Monday and want to practice the same way and expect different results. These guys understood we've got to push it a little further if we want to get a little bit better.
All right, we'll end on a fun one here. Not so much wrestling, more so with the Chargers. Jim Harbaugh, obviously so close to beating the Chiefs over the week, with that field goal here. Rich, what did you like best about the Chargers football program this year? And do you think they got a chance to make that run to the playoffs this season?
For the first time since probably Norv Turner was coaching, well, before Norv Turner, we go back to when Marty Schottenheimer was coaching. I don't feel we're at a coaching disadvantage. I think that if it's a close game, we got a shot. For the last few years, it seemed like if it was a close game for the Chargers, they'd find a way to break your heart. And I mean, obviously the doink off the field goal this week, I kind of had my hopes up for a split second, but the Chiefs kind of put me back in place. But yeah, it's nice to see that they have a little bit of some better coaching going as they try to close those close games. Don't go for it on fourth down from your own 20 type of situation.
The Charger fans and Minnesota Vikings fans, I feel like there's a lot of agony, so to speak, that could come together and be a pretty good community for those two programs.
It's tough to ever to ever really start to believe, because they found a way to let us down a lot of times. So it's always tough. We're like the last ones to jump on our own bandwagon usually. So.
Rich, as always, thank you so much for your time. Best of luck here this week. I know you got a busy schedule before the holidays, but best in the triangular coming up tomorrow night as you make your way up to, with the varsity program, up to Carrington on Saturday.
Thank you. Hey, thanks for all you guys do to support wrestling. We appreciate you guys.
And again, Rich Lacina, head coach for the Lisbon Broncos.
Live, work, and play here in Hillsboro, North Dakota. The Hillsboro Economic Development Committee can assist you with information and support for business and housing. Experience Hillsboro. More at 104.
Head coach of Ada-Borup-West Cougar Boys Basketball, Nate McCraven, joins us on the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show. And Nate, thanks for taking the time. Good to chat with you again here as the season getting underway. And before we talk about the first couple games, just let's go back to the offseason, coming off a very successful year last year, section final appearance, bringing back some core with some good experience, then trying to find some guys that don't have that true varsity experience on the court. So what was the offseason like here for the Cougars?
Yeah, we had a really good team last year, and then we came up a little bit short in a section final. And obviously we had some strong seniors that played big roles for us as well. So those guys moving on with graduation, we've had to kind of fill some roles here this summer, and heading into the season, we got a good idea of kind of at least a starting point. And we had a really good summer. We were invited to a few special invite only tournaments with the summer state Class A. We got to play Dawson Boyd, Red Lake County, and Blooming Prairie down there. And then also we were invited to the Pacesetter Sweet 16 at the end of the summer there, actually outside of the coaching period. So I didn't get to coach the boys, but I could be there to watch, of course, with my son playing and stuff. So, and there we played some big name teams too. Breck was there, and Sauk Rapids Rice, Orono, and Farmington actually beat Farmington in overtime at the end for a Class A team. Usually those Class A teams go there and they don't maybe get a win because they're playing a lot of the bigger schools and things such as that. We were supposed to play Totino Grace in the first game, but I think they saw they had to play Ada-Borup-West, and they bowed out of the tournament once they saw their first round matchup. That's what we're telling the boys anyway. So, but no, we had a good summer, and it was a good experience for those guys. We did a few other things as well too. We just got a lot of boys that like the game of basketball, like being in the gym. So that makes it really easy and really fun to coach. And, as we started the season here, like I said, we're about 7-8 deep right now with our rotation. And as the year goes on, we're looking to build some more depth because we're going to need it with the long season basketball is.
As you look at the roster makeup from the experience coming back to the guys you're looking to fill those depth roles, who are we looking at to fill those key positions?
Yeah. So obviously, Austin McCraven, Caden Dahl, Mason Larson have played a ton of minutes for us. Started for us for 4 years. Austin and Caden, Mason started the last 2 years for us, but played a key role in his younger years as well too. So we're going to lean heavily on those three. Anders Tidgem was a key reserve for us last year. He's a sophomore this year. He will definitely step into the starting lineup and have big nights for us as well with his length and athleticism. And then we get to the junior class here that kind of was our core JV last year. And Brody Menge is a really athletic, long kid that's stepped in and been in our fifth starter. Done really well to start the year. And Casper Kritzberger and Connor Nelson are two juniors also as well that have done a nice job stepping in and playing key minutes off the bench. And then as the year goes on, we're hoping to get a little bit more opportunity for some of our juniors. They'll be next year's seniors as well too. So get them ready. But I think right now the bulk of their minutes will come at the JV level, and they got to kind of prove it there and in practice, of course, as well first. So no, we're excited about the guys. I really like the group. They're really coachable kids. They listen. It's just a matter of kind of finding their style of play, because like a kid like Brody Menge, a kid like Anders is really used to having the ball in their hands last year in their JV minutes. And, not that they're not going to have the ball in their hands, but obviously when you're playing with three kids like Austin, Caden, and Mason, your role is going to change maybe just a little bit. So, but so far at the beginning of the year, we've done a really nice job of moving the ball and kind of creating good shots for each other. And, the shots haven't always fallen, but it's a game of basketball. So definitely like what we're doing on the offensive end and how we're getting shots. So I think as the year goes on, our shooting percentages should go up as well.
Yeah, offensively, I think definitely one of the strong suits of the team to lean on most nights. Incorporating those guys in with their skill sets, has that truly been a challenge of guys' confidence or anything like that, adjusting into new positions?
Uh, no, maybe with some of the guys, there may be, biggest thing is every level you step up and play from junior high to J to C team to JV, it gets faster and it gets more physical. You can kind of see even in our C team level, some of those freshmen have a hard time catching up to the speed of the game. And maybe it's just some kids are playing too fast and they're capable of as well too. But so I think some of that too is, with some of those, like our juniors that are in there right now, it might be a little fast for them right now, but we've kind of stressed the importance of making sure we lean on our veterans, lean on your Austin and your Caden and Mason, and those guys got to step up and be leaders for us too. So, and it's been good so far to start.
As we chat right now, 1-1 on the year after the first week of games, couple of conference games of both. What did you see from the team here upon review of those first two contests?
Yeah, first game on Tuesday night, we lost to a very strong Park Christian team. We knew they were going to be a very strong team. They were battling with us last year twice as well. So, a game that we had the lead for much of that game, pretty much throughout the whole first half. It was never a comfortable lead. I think it maybe stretched out to 7 or 8 or so, and they'd kind of hang around or make a little run back at us. But, our rotation's a little bit shorter than it was last year, and I think our guys definitely felt some first game fatigue, and I'm sure their kids did too, but they kind of got hot, and when shots are falling, you seem to be a little less tired. We were missing some shots at the end, and they were knocking them down, so they kind of had all the momentum in the world. So there's Park Christian. We're going to get to see him again. We're excited to see him again. It's going to be a great matchup again I think we got him early January again in the conference matchup, so that'll be another big game. It's not great to start off your first game of the year with a conference section matchup like that, but it was what it was. And high school sports, you don't always get to control some of those things too as well. So, but last night we played Monome and Waban and had a really, really strong effort from our guys. We were flying around, the ball was moving. I thought our defensive intensity was really strong, and we were getting a lot of deflections and steals and maybe quick shots and rebounding that ball in transition in well. So, we're 1-1 right now. We could very easily, we're gonna with the schedule we play, we're definitely gonna lose some games this year. We got our next 3 games are games that aren't any ones you can circle and chalk up in the win column. We got Cass Lake Bena coming up. We got Cherry coming up, of course, number 1 in the state, defending champs, and then we go to Red Lake County, who's a contender up in Section 8. So. That's the way our boys like it. We get excited for those big matchups, and when we got to bring it every night, it's going to make us better come March.
Yeah, with that strength of schedule the last couple of years of adding in some teams, but also this year, just there's some really good teams in the region that makes every night a battle.
Yeah. I mean, our Pine to Prairie Conference always has a handful, if not more, very strong teams that are capable of beating any team on any given night. And this year's no different. Obviously Park Christians kind of beat us the first night, so they're probably considered the favorites right now. I think we're still right there with them. Fertile Beltrami will be strong. Monome and Waban is always a dangerous threat to anybody. I know they're just coming off their football season, and last night we kind of handled them pretty easily, but we'll see them again, and they'll come at us hard. Norman County East and Hitterdall is off to a good start too. And then Section 6 is just, I know we just got moved to Section 6 last year, and at first it was maybe like, okay, because we get away from Cass Lake Bena, we get away from Fertile Beltrami, but then of course you get to see Henning a little more in West Central area, and now Park Christian. So, both sections are so tough. It's not, either way we go, there's definitely going to be some challenges to get through that section. So that's the way it should be as well too. It should be something that is really, really a grind to get there. We almost got there last year. Hopefully things can fall into place for us this year and we can have another shot at it.
Mentioned a couple of the section teams, and when you look at the anticipation of the end of the year with the section tournament, who do you see there as the teams that you're going to have to really power through?
Yeah, well, we'll mention Park Christian right away because they have already knocked us off. So, I've been ventured to guess we're going to have to beat them if we want to get where we want to get to. Henning brings back a strong group. I know they have a big key injury right now, and it might be a season-ending injury. It might be something where the kid gets back. But even with him being out, they still bring back some very good basketball players, and they play a good style of basketball that they're going to be competitive every single night still and still win a lot of games. So, those two heading into the year, obviously were two that we knew on our half anyway. And there's some teams like Norman County East, Hewlin Hitterdal, and Underwood, and Hillcrest has some tradition as well too. I'm probably missing some teams. When I start naming teams, I maybe miss some. LPA's capable. They got some really good guard play. Like I said, you're gonna have to bring it every night because there's teams that can get hot and knock teams off. So. And then when you get into the other half, we're still not super familiar, but West Central area brings back a few kids from their team, and they'll be strong. And Belgrade, Bruton, Rosa, I think has some really, really good athletes as well too. So, Section 6 is going to be nuts come March again. So, but last year we had to play Battle Lake in the first round at home, and they had some injuries early in the year, and their record was about 500. That was not a typical 7 seed by any means at all. So no playoff game was easy for us last year, and I don't anticipate it being any different this year either.
As you talk about getting to where you want to get to and the goals for the team, have you had that sit down conversation with the group, and how often do you kind of go back to that or evaluate where you're at in that progress?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of unstated, I guess you could say. I know our boys are hungry for it, especially our seniors. They've had a lot of success over the years. They've always played at a high level and played a lot of high level teams, and done well too as well. But they haven't been able to say I've made it to a state tournament yet in any sport. So, that's maybe a notch on their belt, and that just goes to show how talented those boys are, yet how hard it is to do that. In any sport as well too. So it's kind of unstated. We don't sit down and write down our goals. I mean, we try to treat things game by game. Today's practice will focus on Cass Lake Bena. And then after that we'll go cheer. So next game up is kind of what we're focused on. But at the same time, us coaches have a insight, and we know what we got to be good at to knock some teams down. But it's still a little early for that though too. We got to kind of learn about what teams are going to bring to the table. So there'll be some scouting going on here in the December, January months, kind of seeing what teams do and what teams maybe we can take advantage of and things such as that. So, but I know our boys are definitely hungry. I know a state tournament is definitely on their mind. And I think our boys are well aware of the challenge it's going to be to make that happen.
Well, looking forward to how it progresses as the season goes on. Looking forward to some excellent matchups coming up. Nate McCraven, head coach, Ada-Borup-West Cougar Boys Basketball. Nate, as always, appreciate the time. Good to chat with you here, and looking forward to talking with you here next week.
Yep, you bet. Thanks, Jake.
Treat yourself to a great career at American Crystal Sugar Company. Team up with quality people making quality products. Full-time and year-round in a stable business. With great pay and benefits, including time off available from day one. American Crystal Sugar Company invests in you to promote your continued growth and career advancement. Grow your career, doing your best work within the world's best beet sugar company. Apply online today at AmericanCrystalCareers.com.
Don't be fooled by that beat-up old cap. Its faded crown represents the tireless work of America's farmers and ranchers. Its sturdy brim, their dedication to providing our nation with a safe, affordable food source. So we'd like to tip our hat to them. Farmers Union Insurance, protecting those that protect America's food source.
Visit with Ryan Opdahl, your local Farmers Union Insurance agent in Hillsboro.
Growers, prepare your fields and yields against the wet conditions for 2025 and beyond with a drain tile project from Chad's Excavating out of Mayville. Drain tiling will improve and increase your yields and land values for years to come. Chad's Excavating provides free, detailed estimates, and with over 40 years of combined success, they provide professional installation and service. Call Chad today to prepare for your future and any questions that you might have. That's Chad's Excavating out of Mayville, helping farmers grow.
Join us now from Fargo, Davies, head basketball coach here on the girls' side. That is Veit, first-year head coach, taking over for Tona Safransky, who stepped down watching your daughters play collegiately at Concordia and MSUM as well. And Matt, a nice thing is you start off the season with a win against the Moorhead Spuds last night. You get to 1-0 on the year, more importantly. And for you, with your coaching staff, with the players all still learning, I'm sure, one another a little bit too on how you like to do things that are similar to how Tona did it, but maybe it's a little different under your tutelage. So what has the first 2 weeks of practice been like, and the first game against the Moorhead Spuds as you get ready now for Fergus Falls and Red River on the schedule here, Matt?
Yeah, it's been good. The first 2 weeks, I think any coach would tell you this, like those first 2 weeks of just practicing, they get super, super long, right? So we were chomping at the bit to actually get out and go and play an actual game last night. We didn't get any of like the East-West crossover games over the past weekend. So like our girls were sitting there watching. It's just like, we want to play, we want to play, we want to play. But I think for us, to go in and expect our kids to be perfect in the first game, would be, we talk about it would be crazy for us to ask as coaches. So I think we went into that game knowing like how we wanted to play. But we also talked about, hey, like it's not going to be perfect, but we have to respond in a way as like a team and a group and communicate. And like throughout the year, like we're going to be figuring things out throughout the year, just like every team. I think it was kind of interesting. Moorhead's played like, I think that was like their fourth or fifth game. So it's like we had film on them, and they didn't have any on us. But then they have the 4 or 5 games under their belt. So it's just like pros and cons. But at the end of the day, you just had to roll with the ball and play.
I know you've probably been asked this question. What are you changing or what's similar from last year's team? Because obviously last year's team, a lot of athletes able to win the first state championship in program history. There's still a good core of players that either played on the team or were part of that JV on the bench and kind of got to come along for the ride here, Matt. So I guess what's similar or what's different from your point of view coming into the season here this year?
Yeah, like I told them at the beginning of the year, we don't really necessarily have to rewrite the wheel here. Like this is a group of kids who have had success. For me personally, I think my job for this group coming back is finding, where and what did they do really, really well for those kids coming back this past season, and being able to put them in opportunities to do that again, but also recognizing like, hey, you don't have an Ashton Safransky, you don't have a Carly Frank. So for our kids like Quinn and Fallon, like, hey, you guys are amazing, great, skilled leaders, skilled basketball players. But there's going to be a learning curve for you guys, and we have to adjust to that. And it's a brand new team this year. So, but yeah, I'd be lying if I didn't say I went back and watched clips and stole a couple plays from Tona in her playbook. So.
You go to a couple of those players. Fallon Paginante has been able to play varsity for a couple of years now. She has that experience. What does she bring back as a upperclassman, starting guard?
I think the way her work ethic is amazing. And I think her leadership style is leading through her work ethic. She gets up in the morning and goes and does a basketball workout and then comes to practice, and does just multiple hours of basketball a day. And she's just the ultimate competitor. She's flying around the gym. And I think for her, it's just watching her grow and develop these next 2 years of taking that next step in evolution in her game is going to be so exciting for me to watch. But for her, just super impressed about how kind of her and Quinn and our whole team, just how they carry themselves, throughout, it's like, oh, state champions, all this and that, oh, you got a game. Like they're just all about, trying to get better every day. And we talk about like, there's going to be a lot of things said about, what you did last year or who's not on your team or who's still on your team. But at the end of the day, you just got to show up in the gym and try to get better at practice. So.
A similar player, too, that I know you're going to rely on throughout the course of this season, Quinn Scarry. Just kind of what do you want to see from her growth from, last year to this year as you kind of get into those dog days of basketball, so to speak, once you get to middle of January here, Matt?
Yeah, I think she's just going to be a kid that we rely on to be a leader on the court and then also being aggressive. I think she kind of has the ability to guard. Like last night, she guarded McAdams for Moorhead, who's going to go play post at Moorhead State. And there's going to be games where we might have to put her on a guard, an all EDC type guard. So she has the ability to guard 1 through 5. And then she has the ability on offense to play 1 through 5. Like we had her going low in the post last night where she was working, and then we spread her out as a guard and she was getting downhill and getting to the free throw line. So just using her athleticism and her ability to do multiple things on the floor to put her in spots to be successful.
Taking a look at your upcoming schedule, another Minnesota team, you're going to Fergus Falls on Saturday, then you get into the EDC schedule at Grand Forks River on Tuesday. So as you just kind of get into these upcoming games here, Matt, what's the one thing, win, lose, or draw from your team? What if you go out, watch a game, able to take Fargo Davies girls basketball in person, what's one thing you want people to leave the gym away with when they watch your team, whether it's a win or a loss?
Yeah, and I think this kind of stems off, doing things that the program did so well last year. Was their defensive intensity. Ashton was kind of the spearhead of that, picking people up full court. But what made, Davies really, really good last year and what we hope to continue this year is their defensive pressure and their ability of, like we might not have the tallest team in the league, but that doesn't mean that we can't be effective on the glass. Like we can all five get in defensive rebound and get in transition and then get offensive rebound opportunities and just play with that kind of style where you're getting up and you're not allowing teams to even run offense against you. And I think we had spurts of that really, really good last night, early in the game. But kind of some second half lulls, some first game kind of miscues and stuff. So we have to continue to grow on it. But you want people leaving the gym thinking like this Davies team plays hard.
I know that's always when a new person takes over at the varsity level here, Matt, but you've seen some of these players, whether it's maybe been through softball just at the school. Also, you got some assistant coaches who've been with the program and been with one or two of them before. So how's that communication? How's the getting to know you phase? In football, you always say you got a name over someone's head that says Veit or Miller. I know you don't get that in basketball, but how's everything kind of going from that perspective?
It's been great. And kind of like you said, just me working at the school the past couple years and being around with the boys team and then moving over. I knew a lot of them right away and we started, our summer stuff. And I think that was kind of our growth curve of like, who is this new guy that's coaching us right now? And just being able to kind of go through that phase during the summer where we kind of first day of practice, we hit the ground running. Like I knew everybody, they knew me, they kind of knew what I expected. But then again, when you talk about the assistant coaches and just people I've been around, like assistant coaches for basketball, they're all back. Assistant coaches for like my softball team, they all support me and they do so much for me throughout the year. And then to be able to have people like Tona Safransky, people like Bart Manson, people like Coach Warmeyer, like in my corner all the time is like, for me, I'm surrounded by great, great people, great coaches, great players, a great community. And I'm just going to rely on that, throughout this whole ride.
Take us through just the quality of play that we're going to see in North Dakota. Obviously, Minot's got a couple of really good players with Fricky and Bell out there. You'll be able to see what the Bismarck schools have been able to do with legacy as they continue to develop Bismarck Century year in and year out. I know Red River is going to maybe be a little bit different this year just with the senior class, but it always seems like Kent Rippliger's got that program going in the right direction. So what do you kind of make of Division AA basketball being the second year of this three divisions here, Matt? Just kind of where do you see it from your perspective as a coach?
It's fun. It's fun and it's competitive. And that's what you want to see. You want to see, all these competitive games, competitive style basketball where you could walk into the gym any night and you don't know what could happen. I think, watching, obviously like the Minot and the Bismarck schools, growing and developing. And obviously the state lost a couple dynamic players from last year, that graduating class. But I think there's also a lot of really, really young players coming up that are very, very dynamic as well. And I think teams are getting deeper. I think as you see kind of, a resurgence of girls basketball now with whatever the Caitlin Clark effect or whatever you want to talk about, I think that you're going to see more depth from each team every night, where you're coming and 8, 9, 10 on the bench are shooters. Minot, you saw that with Minot when they played Cheyenne. It's like they plugged and played any guard and they could just shoot the ball. So, that part's fun. But it's just you want to walk into the gym, and I've been a huge fan of the new class system and how like you get competitive games all the time, and then you get a couple non-conference games where you can go out and play more competitive games, and so it's been good.
Yeah, final thing here, Matt. Obviously, in the East, Jaden Hale, a future Gonzaga product. As you mentioned, there was, the Safranskys, the Benedicts, the Joshy Schillers, just to go right off the bat here, and Mariley Simons, Chloe Fowles. I mean, in the last couple of years, there's been really good athletes. And what are we going to see this year in the EDC? Because just looking at the roster initially on most teams, there is some fresh faces. There is some players who've been there before, like a Fallon and Quinn on your team, on other teams. But it seems like that there is that opportunity for new players to maybe get their fingerprints on the game a little bit more here this season, albeit, yes, Horace has got some players back that have been with that program now since its inception. But it seems like for the most part in the EDC, everyone's going through some new players or new rosters coming up this season here, Matt.
Yeah, there's a lot of fresh faces in the league for sure, but then you look around at some of these schools and you see, some ninth graders and 10th graders, and they have offers from NDSU and St. Thomas and all these places. So it's not like there's a lack of talent. I think for, anyone, even us especially, like to go out and expect these players to be amazing all the time. For us, Quinn and Fallon, there's going to be a growth curve for everyone. But I think by the end of the year, especially, in the East and the West, you're going to see some really dynamic players and some really, really good basketball.
Matt, as always, thanks so much for your time. Best of luck this weekend at Fergus Falls.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
That again, Matt Veit, head coach for Fargo. Davies will continue on our coaches show after this.
On the Your Live Event Coaches Show this week, we are catching up with Thompson girls basketball head coach Jason Brend, and coach going all the way back to last year's state tournament. Well, I guess you could say this year's state tournament, as it was 2024. It just, I don't know how to feel if I'm a Thompson girls basketball player. You've built such a great program there up at Thompson with many great seasons, great state tournament appearances, yet still searching for the first state title. And last year had to feel like, yes, this is finally our year. And then you get to that semifinal and it just doesn't quite go your way again. Walk me through the offseason after from what I would think, a disappointing finish, it being third place.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a gut punch, I guess. We had goals that we didn't reach last year, simple as that. And, we had the team that we felt that could do it. And, sometimes that happens. It wasn't necessarily for a lack of effort or anything. It was a matter of, a really, really good team came in there and just outplayed us that night. And, from that point forward, we continued our focus on getting better. The off season certainly we didn't have any let-ups. One big advantage that I think our school and our kids now have is we signed a contract, our school did, with Sanford Power. And they come into our school and we have weekly workouts with a trainer. And we spend a lot of time in the weight room in the off season and continue throughout the season. And, it's just one more thing that we hope is going to help us get stronger as a team. Obviously we spend a lot of time playing basketball as well, and volleyball and softball and everything else that these kids do. But, you can't dwell too long because you always got to think about the next year and moving forward. That's what we're trying to do.
Interesting how the schedule played out. You at the time of our talking here, you played 3 games so far this season, 2 wins, 1 setback, and the one setback was to the team that maybe is a thorn in your side last year and now this year in South Prairie Max.
Yeah, that's South Prairie is the team that beat us in the semis last year at state, and we knew they were a young team last year. Very capable, very athletic, just a really good basketball team. And, we were kind of excited to get a chance to play them again early in this year. And to be honest with you, yeah, they beat us by 10 points, but frankly, it was a great game for us. And I'm not, I'm not disappointed one bit about that loss, because I think had we won the game, would we be happier? Sure, we would. Why wouldn't we, right? But a lot of things could have changed as well. And I can tell you this. It's nice to go into practice the next day after a loss, because the focus and the energy and intensity is always a lot higher. And, there was maybe times last year we didn't always have that. When you run the schedule all the way through the state tournament without a loss, sometimes you need those to get everybody refocused a little bit, reset. And, it kind of puts a little extra charge in the batteries. And, South Prairie gave that to us, maybe a gift this year at the very beginning of the year. And, we're going to play it that way. We're going to keep working hard. And obviously one loss, the second game of the year, isn't going to define our season by any shape or form. So, we're just going to continue to work hard every day and move forward.
To update the fans here on the rest of the schedule, a couple of wins so far this season as well over Botno, a state tournament team last year, a team that was, if the seeding would have worked out, a team you could have faced in the championship, and 4 wins in Oaxaca, which always presents some challenges.
Yeah, our first game there was Botno. We knew they returned some really good basketball players as well. They, in the state tournament, they spent a lot of last year ranked really high and brought a lot of those good players back. I know they have a couple of new girls in the backcourt this year, and they have a Beckman girl who's a 6-footer, and they have a 6'3" girl, and so we took a look at them and thought, wow, they really have the height advantage on us, and it was a good opportunity for us. Anytime you can play against teams that have that advantage, it gives us a chance to figure things out and work on it. So when we play our next team that has that size advantage, we go from there. And, Botno's stud is definitely the Beckman girl, and you know, she's tough. I think she came out and had 12 points on us in the first half, our first quarter at least. And I think we held her the rest of the game then to maybe 4 or 6 points. So I thought the girls did a nice job responding after that. And last night we were out in Fort Totten playing Four Winds, and you know, they're going to be a good team. Over the weekend, they played Shiloh Christian to a 3-point game, and we were able to watch that film. And they do a lot of things well. They're a fairly young team, and you know, we kind of got the ball rolling downhill early last night and just never really took our foot off the gas.
And of course, we've been diving into the results at the onset, but you got a little bit of a different team this year. Of course, you got some big players back in, of course, Sage, Hurst, Tozer. The list goes on and on. But you had to fill two big pieces in Martin and Sydney Schwabe from last year. But I think there's a lot in the arsenal to help fill that gap.
There certainly is, you know, and a lot of people don't realize, you know, you lose a Brenna Martin and a Sydney Schwabe, those are big shoes to fill, you know, and even though we feel we've got really good players filling those roles and those other, you know, the roles that they played the year before, we're a different team. I mean, we really are, because their skill sets are different. Jalen Oftham stepped into the Brenna Martin role, and, you know, she's done a really good job so far as kind of establishing the paint for us, and she'll continue to do well. She played a role off the bench last year, so we're happy with her. But she's a different player than Brenna, you know, and same thing with Claire Colling coming off the last year, coming off the bench. Now she stepped into a starting role where Sydney Schwabe was last year. And, you know, again, a very different type of player than Sydney. So we had to shuffle some positions around, you know. Claire's not necessarily a point guard where Sydney was. So, you know, we start putting kids in new roles. It takes a little bit of time to kind of find that cohesiveness and just, you know, what it takes to be successful in that role. And, you know, I guess we have multiple kids coming off the bench, but our top two right now, Andy Schwab, she's been kind of a little bit of a Swiss Army knife for us. She's done a lot of things. She's gotten everywhere from a 1 to a 4 on the floor for us, position wise. And, you know, that's something that we don't want to continue. We'd like to lock her into maybe 2 positions, just because then we think the growth will, you know, expand even sooner. But that's a kid who we knew had a ton of talent. You know, it's a matter of getting her game time. And with each game now, she's getting better and better and better. And she gets to be a force here as the season progresses. And another one that we have coming off the bench is Jossie Oster, who's a freshman. And she's got some length for us, and she just has a nose for the ball. We really like what she does on the defensive side of the ball and going and getting offensive rebounds. And, you know, her game's going to continue to get stronger and stronger as well. And then we have, you know, a handful of some juniors who, you know, are all capable players as well. It's just a matter of trying to figure out how things are going to span out as far as in our rotations and who's going to earn some slots for us.
You mentioned that because of filling the 2 spots left from you know, Martin and Schwabe last year, your team's playing different. Kind of walk me through. I know you mentioned the individually, but as a team, how is the team playing different this year than last year?
Well, our style's similar. We like to get up and down. You know, we like to play an aggressive defense, and offensively, we like to push the ball whenever we can, which I don't think is a secret to anybody. But, you know, with Brenna, when you got a 6-footer in the paint, you know, you want to try to really get her back to the basket as much as possible and drop stepping and, you know, making some moves. Where with Jalen, we pull her out of the paint a little bit more often. We do like her in there, and she's very capable of playing that. But at times, and not always, we find ourselves in more of a 5-out motion. And with that, we're creating some attack lanes and giving us some opportunities to guess to where our backside of our offense is a little bit more important this year, if that makes sense. Our movements break to the ball a little bit differently, and it's more systematic than it is anything else. It's just a matter of where we're finding and creating the open shots right now, because we don't always have that tall girl standing in the paint, you know, getting big, trying to get touches all the time.
Of course, you've already seen Botno and South Prairie Max, 2 state teams from last year. Of course, Devils Lake in the region, the defending state champions. You get to see them a couple times this year. You get to see on Monday on our first game with you guys in your live event, Mayport CG, last year's State B champion, and you get to see your old friend Moorhart down the line there at Northern Cass as well. So always a challenging schedule. Got to be good for the girls.
It is, you know, it's going to be a lot of fun. Even this Saturday, we go down to Wapton. Very good basketball team. You know, that Scout Woods girl they have on their team is something to watch. Mayport, you know, I'm sure they're saying the same thing as a lot of people, where they're a little bit different team this year. But we were able to watch them a little bit out in Minot. And, you know, they got some some pretty good basketball players still. And, there's just a lot of great teams. Like you said, Devils Lake and our region's always tough. I think HCV is definitely going to be an improved team this year. The Kindred, Central Casses, a lot of them. And yeah, we are excited to play Northern Cass with Coach Morehart there now. It's a great opportunity for him. He's a great basketball coach. He wanted to be a head coach. And, we're excited about playing him. I think our kids are excited about that one. It's been brought up a couple times. And it's absolutely nothing against him. It's just because they all like him so well. It's a opportunity to go show them what we're doing without him, I guess, at this point.
Jason, as we mentioned, Morehart going to Northern Cass. Of course, Carson Hager comes back. Of course, the former Rugby Panther, and anyone else stepping in on the coaching staff that'll be new for the Thompson teams.
Right now, it's Carson and I, and it's going well. Carson, she's fairly young. She's only, 24 years old, I think, something like that. And it wasn't that long ago she was playing both high school and college basketball, and she's taken on an expanded role this year, and she's really stepped up her game as well as far as being active in game planning and breaking things down in practice. And we're really, really, really happy with how she's growing as a coach as well, and I think she's got a bright future in it. Providing she wants to continue doing it in the future. And she's just a combination of where she does a really great job of building good relationships with the kids. She brings a good knowledge of the game. Playing for Jen and rugby those years. You're going to learn something, obviously, and we just really enjoy having her around.
Jason, anything else you want to mention here about the 24-25 Thompson girls basketball at the outset?
We're just excited to get rolling again. As we mentioned, kind of that gut punch that we took at the end of last year. We were ready to get back in the gym, and personally, I know I was excited watching our girls all fall. Our volleyball team went on that great run. We had girls that ran some cross country. We had some girls that made state golf. And it's fun to see them have success, and we're just excited to get back on the hardwood and see what we can do this year. I mean, no games ever a given anymore. It's a situation where you show up every day, and this 3-class system, as much as at one point in time I had a hard time leaving Class B because that's where I've always been my whole career. Really enjoy it now, and we look forward to facing all these teams that we get to face all year long, because there's no teams that you just can't take for granted.
And as we joked a little bit before the interview, the voice is getting there. It's not 100% there yet, but it is on the way back. So we're happy to see you healthy and the team healthy and ready to go. That's Thompson girls basketball head coach Jason Brend joining us in the Your Live Event Coaches Show. Again, our first Thompson girls basketball contest in Your Live Events coming up Monday when the Tommies take on Mayport CG. Jason, thanks for the time.
Thank you very much, James.
Live, work, and play here in Hillsboro, North Dakota. The Hillsboro Economic Development Committee can assist you with information and support for business and housing. Experience Hillsboro. More at 104.
Well, there is a saying that if you want to get better in tennis or any other sport or chess or what have you, you've got to play someone who's better than you are, and that's kind of what happened to your guys tonight.
Yeah, Park Christian is a very, very good basketball team. We held them to 60 points, which I was happy with, but there was just too many turnovers. We got to cut down on the turnovers, and we got to start making some shots.
It was tough for guys like Gabe Wentzel and Tyler Evans to get shots.
Yeah, it was. Their defense is tenacious. It's in your face. We hadn't seen that yet this year. So I think moving forward here, we got a taste of kind of our own medicine, because we like to play that kind of defense too. And I think we'll get ready to work tomorrow, and good things will happen.
Something on the stat sheet, at least, you got more rebounds than they did and more offensive rebounds than they did.
Yeah, I mean, I think that kind of attributes to Dustin Carl.
Yes.
That young man has a heart of a lion, and he's working his way into quite a bit of varsity playing time, I think, with that effort.
And he got the start tonight too.
Yeah, he did. JC had some foot issues going on, so we threw Dustin in there right away, and it's 110% effort whenever that kid's in the game.
Not much time to dwell on this one way or the other, because Thursday night you're back in Fisher to take on Bagley, then Friday night back here in Climax to take on Foston.
Yeah, I don't super love 3-game weeks. It's also really good to play 3-game weeks sometimes too. But it's tough to tough to come off of this game when it was so high paced, and we worked our tails off. We just couldn't make some shots, and we had a lot of turnovers. So if we can continue to play hard, good things will happen.
Alex Wentzel, tough loss tonight. We'll see you on Thursday.
Sounds good. Thank you very much.
Alex Wentzel, coach of the Climax-Fisher Knights.
Welcome back here to our post-game report. Carrington victorious over Hillsboro Central Valley tonight by the final score of 56-23. And Carrington now 3-0 in the region and 2-0, or 3-0 overall and 2-0 in the region. HCV drops to 2-2 overall and 0-1 in the region. Head coach Duane Connell joins us right now. So thanks, Coach, for joining us here. And just a tough battle here. Region 2 contest. Give us some takeaways from this one, the loss against Carrington.
Well, we got to find ways to score. The way I looked at it at halftime, I thought the defense wasn't bad. If we would have kept it going the way it was, they had to give them 50 points. I mean, high school girls basketball, you keep them in the 40s and 50s, and you should be able to be successful. But we just got to figure out ways to pass or make better passes so that we can score. If we're not making our outside shots, then we have to make them inside. And I mean, we missed outside and inside tonight, and our passes just were not good. So it's like back to square one, and we got to really work on passing and practice and conditioning. Our conditioning's not where it needs to be. So it's going to be some tough 3 days of practice here coming up.
So yeah, just that full court press by the Cardinals was tough to break too, right?
It is, but I mean, we practiced it enough. We've seen it. We know what to do. To be honest, Central Cass, the way they pressed us, was a little bit more pressure than Carrington even showed us. So I just think part of that is just us not making very smart passes. I mean, they do a good job. Like Carrington's consistent with their defense and their offense. They do. It's just consistent all the time. No matter what they do, the effort's always there. They're always working hard. They're always attacking the basket. They're attacking you defensively, and they just do it for the 4 quarters of a game.
Let's talk about some of your players. Kennedy Olson doing most of the ball handling. I had her down for 6 points tonight, and she's a good ball handler out there. So
yeah, and last night she had 20 points. She does a good job of taking the ball to the basket. But then again, even tonight, some of her passes were just not the way they should be. And she's a senior, and she's better than that. And that's something that she has to work on. But like I said, she is our senior leader, and she just has to do a better job of controlling the tempo and the team when she's got the ball in her hands.
Okay, so what's next up for the Burros after tonight now?
Oh, we got practice Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and then I don't think we play again until Tuesday, which is Hatton Northwood.
Okay, so that's Division B then, right? Yeah. Hatton Northwood. Yep. So what do you the Thunder? What?
Well, they're a big team. They're talented. I mean, they're one of the top teams in Class B. So it'll be a tough matchup for us.
And what do you think of Division A, Region 2? Some top teams in there.
Well, I mean, personally, the playing in Division A is tough, and I don't want anybody to feel sorry for us. But numbers are a big thing. We got 13 girls. 2 of them are 8th graders. So for us to be able to put a JV team out there and then to have some of those girls that are playing JV play a lot of minutes in varsity is just tough. And it's just something that you would expect in Class B, not so much Class A, but it is what it is. And we just gotta bear down and just work hard and just keep on plugging away.
Okay, sounds good. We'll let you go. And thanks for joining us here in our post game.
Right. Thank you.
You bet.
There's more at 104. Hillsboro, North Dakota has everything you need on your next road trip. Food, fuel, fun, and family-friendly activities. Stop by and fill up your tank or grab a bite to eat. Have a blast at Goose River Golf Club, the swimming pool, or one of our beautiful parks. There's even ice skating and cross-country skiing. Take in the sights or stay the night so you don't miss a thing. Experience Hillsboro and see why there's more at 104.
Parenting is hard for all of us. And so providing those little resources that we can share for those conversations that are hard to have and to kind of be that icebreaker for both professionals, parents, and then open up that conversation to the more engaging conversation that's needing to be had.
Being a parent myself, oftentimes it's the simple things that make a difference.
As a busy parent myself, just engaging with your kids, making it an everyday thing so they know that you're there, they can always come to you when those difficult situations do arise.
Contact Trail District Health Unit in Hillsboro for more information.
Sharing our heritage, sharing our future. Choosing the right bank for your financial needs can be challenging with the many choices available. Dakota Heritage Bank is pleased you're interested in knowing more about what they can do for you. The Dakota Heritage Bank community bank setting is a strong advantage they have over larger, less personal banks. Customers are more than account numbers, they are friends and neighbors. Working together, Dakota Heritage Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Austin McCraven, Ada-Borup-West, our senior spotlight, yourliveevent.com. And Austin, I know we were talking a little bit, head up this one that, your senior year, special time at school, no question about it. But for you, how's senior year been going so far?
It's been pretty busy. A little more fun that way with taking a little higher level classes, a little balancing that with sports I'm in and band, honor society, those kind of things. Just kind of balancing that and finding time for everything to be successful in it all at the same time.
It's a challenge. I know you're up for it. We talked, homecoming king as well this fall, so you had that to kind of add to your schedule. Balancing act with that, the upper level classes, I'm sure, like you say, a challenge, but building for that college opportunity, right?
Yeah, it's a good thing that our school kind of put in place where we can take these online classes, college classes, and get the credits just if we have a good enough GPA for it, and it's free for us, so it's kind of nice to get some of them through so I don't have to spend as much in college.
Football season came to a close. I know we'll go down as one of the decorated quarterbacks and then defensive backs as well in the district since the district redistricting happened and the going away of conferences. District-wise, you'll be one of the best passers over a 2-year period in the area, and likewise have a record from your junior year of most interceptions in a season. Those type of things, individual accolades, super cool. But I know you talk about the game of football. It's hard to replicate the game, right? Because of the type of bonding you get out of football.
Yeah, I played basketball and baseball too, but football is just a whole nother level of like friendship, family kind of bonds like that. I don't know what it is, but it's just you get so much closer with your friends while playing football than really any other way, I guess.
I know you were a versatile individual, but from delivering hits to then being on the receiving end of a hit from football, you if you have your teammates that can help you and block you, it is different. It's just a different sport. But I know you opened a lot of eyes this last year, your senior year with football, and I know that leads into now your basketball career, which you've spent a lot of time in a gymnasium in your life. I wonder if you had how we have speedometers and odometers in our vehicles. I'd love to see how many hours you've logged in a gymnasium. That would be something special.
Yeah, it's definitely something I put a lot of pride into is just putting in work and seeing how it pays out in the long term.
Basketball, I feel like you've been in a gym your entire life, and most of that is probably true. But what about the game of basketball is giving you such passion?
Just as a young student, kind of growing up, I went to Norman County West first, so my dad was a coach there, and I just always grew up around the team, and that atmosphere just got me to really love basketball, and since then, I haven't lost any love for it and only really gained love, and get to share that with a lot of my friends now.
A quarterback on the football field and then a point guard on the basketball court, kind of having the ball in your hand, leading the offense. That's something I know you take a lot of pride in, but it's not always about who scores the most or that type of thing either, because you're leading that aspect. So, talk about the point guard position and why it pertains to you, what you drive through with that.
Yeah, I like to kind of have the ball in my hands a lot and kind of be that playmaker, not just scoring, but also be someone who your teammates have fun playing with, get them the ball in ways that they can find success too. And that's just kind of fun for me in that way.
Defensively, you're also a menace on the basketball floor, so it's neat to see that. Do you have a favorite side of the ball? I got to imagine everybody wants to be offensive, but making a big play on defense has to be leading into offense has to be something too for you.
Yeah, it's always fun. Defense requires a little more hard work and diving around. It's always fun when you can make one of those plays or your teammates make one of those plays, and gym just gets loud and brings the energy way out of the gym, and it's just always fun that way.
Special atmosphere. You talk about being, a Norman County West Panther to then an Ada-Borup-West Cougar. Also in that mix, you've been, a staple on summer leagues and other aspects too. You've made a lot of friendships through the game of basketball.
Yeah, I've got to just even playing school ball, branching out, getting to know kids from other schools, even playing summer ball with a team out of Alexandria, getting to know guys that aren't very local that kind of show that same interest as I do, and then going to play against a lot of the Metro kids and making friendships that way too. Just getting out and getting to play against people you never really would in high school, and that's always just fun to compete at that level too.
You mentioned that some of the names that people would recognize that you've been against. I mean, Coy Parrish, who's a star at the University of Minnesota football. You played basketball against him. Played basketball, and you're going to see Cherry High School in a better part of a week again with the Asamas, and then you got Noah playing at Isaac and Noah the crew. I mean, it's just you're seeing some really neat things. Kid that grew up in Halstead, you're getting in the mix with those guys, and that I gotta imagine they think, oh, that McCraven kid's not so bad either, right? A little bit.
Yeah, it's a little different than the 500 town population of Halstead, where you play against a team that maybe has one or two pretty solid kids. Now it's every team has 7 to 8 really solid kids that you get to play against, and then kids that you don't really know too, and you get to know kids, and other kids kind of get to see you and realize not all the talents is just coming from the metro area too.
That's right. Your basketball season's going to come and go faster than we imagine. It's just the way it is. But you're going to get that lid lifted here this week, and then like you say, into baseball season. And baseball is a sport that you've again kind of grew up with a baseball bat in your hand, and from that standpoint, it's a just different pace of game, is it not?
Yeah, it is a little different than basketball and baseball, where everything's kind of just go as fast as you can. Baseball's got a little more strategy, which is always fun. We got Mr. Erickson, who likes to kind of put baseball into like mathematical ways, which I'm a big math guy too, so I kind of like that as well.
You talk about your family involvement. You play football, dad's a coach. Play basketball, dad's a coach. Play baseball in the summertime, dad's a coach. And for people who don't know, Nate McCraven had a heck of a high school and college career himself. And so obviously, you and I have talked about this before, but playing for your dad, I didn't get a chance to do that. Not everybody does. So what's it like to have dad as a coach?
It's got its ups and downs. Make a bad play, you kind of get yelled at a little more than others probably would. Make a good play as well, you also get praised pretty good for it too. And then just the bond of getting to play for my dad in all these sports. After the football game, it was pretty emotional just to kind of between my dad and I that I won't get to really suit up for football under him again.
And that's, I gotta imagine, right, when it comes down to it, those are also special bonds and moments too. But super cool, unique. Having mom and dad support from just being at home to then chasing around, getting you to and fro. I gotta imagine it's you spend a lot of time, throughout the year in the vehicle with mom and dad. That's got to be kind of special as well.
Yeah, it definitely is. Making the trips everywhere that they kind of sacrifice for just so I can kind of get out there and have some fun with it. Really appreciate that from them too.
And you got Superfan Carter. Now, you and your sister are busy, being student athletes. And then you got Superfan Carter in the mix too. We got to talk about your brother because that's got to be special too. It's different bonds that I know your family gets to have with Carter, and then likewise with you. I got to imagine it's just a little bit of something special.
Yeah, it definitely is. He's kind of everywhere, supporting my sister and I. I don't know if he's really paying attention all the time or is just excited to get to the hotel and do some swimming or maybe some fast food, McDonald's. Maybe it's more so that, but just him always being there, it's just fun to see.
It is super cool, and people are going to see Carter in the gymnasium this winter and at the baseball field this spring once again, no question about it. But okay, so when we're all wrapped up, you and I talked this fall. Not quite sure about what you were going to do at that time, but has college plans come together yet, or are you still doing some thinking?
Still doing some thinking right now. I'm kind of leaning towards Mayville a little more, probably for some accounting. I got an offer to play football there. I've had a little bit of interest from the baseball team. I don't know. We'll see kind of how that goes, what I decide to do. But I'm thinking Mayville for accounting and then take on a sport there too if I can.
Be a great opportunity for you. I know that you're excited about what's at hand here, but like you said, there's a lot of people that have influenced you in your life. Any other thanks that you want to get out there to coaches or teachers, things of that nature?
Yeah, just thank you to all my coaches, teachers for putting me in the best position I can to find success in whatever I do. The whole community that's supported me throughout the whole way, done nice things for my family and I, especially just my brother, the way they kind of look out for him and always supporting him too. And just thank you to everybody who's kind of made an impact on me. Friends, always growing up in the gym together. That's a little special. Just getting to spend countless hours with all of them in gym, weight room, football field. Even just playing on the PS5, whatever it is, just finding ways to spend time with them too.
Super cool stuff. Austin, to you and everybody in your family too, thank you very much for the time. Congratulations on a great career thus far. Best of luck the rest of your senior year.
Thank you.
Senior Spotlight, Ada-Borup-West Senior, Austin McCraven.
And that does it for the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show. Make sure you join us next Wednesday night, on Wednesday, December the 18th, for our final Coaches Show here of 2024. Then we'll have a year-end review show on January the 1st. Nothing over Christmas, was just kind of how the calendar falls this year. Again, the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show, presented to you by the Hillsboro Economic Development Corporation. I'm Chase Miller. Enjoy the rest of your week.